Welcome to the Marketing Revolution Podcast. This is the underground movement of savage marketers from all over the world. We are not Fortune 500 companies. We are real entrepreneurs with real businesses that have one major thing in mind: to set goals and devour them daily. Because we understand that everyone wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with the Marketing Revolution Podcast and the Marketing Savage Facebook group, coming to you with another couples edition with your host that be bringing the most, the illest Angela Hiley.
Thank you very much,
John Hiley. So that's your new title right now. Now is the illest.
What's illest mean?
You know, the ill. You ill.
What does that
You
mean?
the illest. It's like the dopest.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a pretty dope chick, so you know.
Yeah. Well, dope chicks don't say it like
I
that.
would be like every girl. I would be like everybody's homegirl.
Ah.
See?
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'm the girl. I mean, not you. I'm talking about like other people.
With a guy like you and a girl like me, anything is possible.
Like, I'm the girl that, I'm the female, I'm the gal that you can be friends with, and you don't have to worry if I'm going to try and get with your man, because that ain't going to happen.
Well, yeah, because
there's a lot of women that are out there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, gals can be so fucking shady. That's the thing. Like, I've been around enough shady females in my life, and I'm like, that's horrible.
Oh, yeah, when I was younger, I used to manipulate them.
Because, like, I would be friends with, like, females, and they'd be trying to get with, like, let's say the guy that I was seeing and stuff like that. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't do that shit. Like, that is not a good girlfriend. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know how, like, it seemed like there's always, like, when you run into two girls, there's always, like, the pretty girl and then the chick that, like, is not so pretty. It seems like every pretty girl has, like, a fat friend or has, like, some friend that's just not near as pretty, and then they show up as a pair. You know, the key to that was, I'm telling you guys, here was the key to the secret of cracking the code of how to get
I never felt that way when I hung around other...
Oh, you always had some ugly bitch with you?
Well, I mean...
I met you with some ugly bitch.
She wasn't, like, ugly. She was not horrible.
She was...
Maybe I just didn't look at... Maybe I didn't look at the gals that I was hanging... Maybe I didn't look at them like that way.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. So this confirms my point, right? So the trick with that is that you always pay attention to the fugly one.
Oh, dear God. Oh, yeah. I remember we've had this discussion.
And then for some reason, the good-looking one just can't take that, that because she's used to everybody paying attention to her. So the moment somebody pays attention to her friend, she's wondering why.
Yeah.
And then she's starting to go, well, man, this I need to do something about this. I need to get the attention over to me.
But you know what? Let's say back in the day, because I've already said this, and John has told people that, because we got together when we were young, and he always said, like, if we were in high school together, like, I would have, excuse me, I'm getting all choked up here.
Oh, yeah, you are. Oh, look at that. She can't handle it. No. She knows it's true. No. She's getting hot. Her face is getting red.
No, it's not.
She's picturing John Hiley in high school.
So, no, because you had one of them. You had a little mustache going on.
It don't matter. I rocked that little mustache.
Anyways, when you were telling me about that, I was just like, if you would have did that with me and another one of my girlfriends, I was been like, it wouldn't have worked on me.
Well, no, not you. You got to know the type.
Yeah. Because
you weren't real, like, the type that you got to do that with are the ones that are real stuck up. So, like it has to be, so yeah, I should have clarified this. Because sometimes there's, like, a pretty girl and, like, she's always with that fugly friend. But but she's nice too, right? So there's different types. You gotta
Okay.
read their energy. But you guys know which one I'm talking about. That one that pretty girl, probably usually a blonde, that comes walking in and she's got her ugly friend and she acts like she's stuck up, like nobody should be talking to her, you
Yeah.
know, and all this kind of stuff. That's the one that you got to do this to. Like you, on the other hand, nah, I don't think I would have tried that with you. I mean, to be honest with you, this is a reactive game. I mean, you know, when you're running game on females, this is something that's reactive. It's not like you do this each and every time.
Yeah.
It's like you got to use a lot of common sense. You
So
gotta,
let me ask you something. So let's just, let's say like back in the day, what would you have done to get my attention?
I'd have probably found out what you were into,
Yeah.
and then I would have talked to you about that. I would have pulled out your hopes and your dreams.
My
I would've-
hopes and my dreams.
Yeah, you would have willingly told me about that. I would have had you open up about it. But then I wouldn't let it got too far without maybe saying something or slightly touching you sexually. You know, little things. I had this way with my eyes.
You're such a dork.
I could seduce you with my eyes. I wouldn't have talked too much about myself. Only if
Yeah.
you ask me. I would have kept the spotlight on you, kept the focus on you.
But see, I've always been the type of person to where I always like to ask the questions and listen. See, I've always been a really good listener, so that's what I would have done. I don't know if you would have gotten a lot out of me in the
Yeah,
very
would've.
beginning. You think so?
The very first time I met you, you weren't that much older. I mean, we
No.
met when you were like, what, 20?
No. Yes, you were 19 and I was 20. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You talked the whole night.
Well, so did you.
I did to you exactly what I just told you I would have done to you. You acting like I didn't already do it. Like I already did it. I'm just replaying exactly what I did.
No, you were being genuine. The way that you were talking about how you used to be, it didn't seem like you were being very genuine. Like you always had some type of motive behind it.
Well, I mean, you know,
'Cause you
for
were
a man and a woman, there's
Because
always
you were
a motive.
you were like a womanizer.
You know, the whole thing, like, I read the definition of a womanizer, and technically,
you've
that's
already-
the definition. Technically, I guess that was. But I thought, honestly, if somebody womanizer would be somebody who, like, beats women or something like that. That's what I thought a womanizer was. Actually turns out that a womanizer is just a fucking horny guy. Like, it's just
You
a dude
told
that's,
everybody this.
you know, just a dude that's horny. Like, how in the fuck are they giving a
I
clinical
always
name?
thought that like when we were talking on that couch all night that you were just being a good genuine person.
I was.
Well, then you weren't there was no game or anything of that. You were just being yourself.
Yeah, but if you were a different kind of chick, I would have had to approach it totally differently.
Okay.
I would have. Would have had to.
Yeah.
But you weren't.
No.
I figured you out very quickly.
Because I was very genuine.
And I had you in the palm of my hands. Very, very fast, very
But
quickly.
you don't think I had
Even
you...
from the way I walked in.
Well, I know, because I've always said this. Like,
I knew
when
from the look in your eyes.
When you walked into Anita's home, it was like the room got 3 shades brighter.
That's that energy I keep talking about. I keep telling everybody about this, the energy. It's about what's inside of you, what you project out to the world. I was using that voodoo on you back then.
But let me ask you something. With all the girls that you had dated and all this and that, and then you met me, did you have a feeling inside of you that you knew that I was different compared to everybody else?
I did, yep.
When you first met me?
Obviously, I'm still here.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying,
I didn't
John.
put you as another notch on my belt. You ended up being the last notch on my belt.
I know.
The last notch on my headboard. Oh my god! She even threw away my little black book.
Oh my god.
Oh man, you guys know what I'm talking about. The black
You know what
book.
sucked? Let me tell you something. Is because I was pregnant and I had, John was living at home with his parents and I moved in with John and his parents.
Had a lot going for me.
And, I'm pregnant and John's working at Dan and Yogurt at the time. And, you know, when you're pregnant, you start going through this thing which is called nesting. You know, you get everything in order, you start cleaning and all this and that. Well, John had this closet, and in this closet on the top shelf, it had this box. And I'm like, what the fuck is in this box? And I get the box down, and I'm like pregnant. I'm probably, I don't know, like 6.5, 7 months pregnant. And I'm like, do I really want to go through this box?
Damn, she went through my box,
and I'm
guys.
like, you know what, Angela, you're going to go through this box because you're nosy. And then you're going to take all the stuff and you're going to throw it away. You're going to put it in a big old black trash bag. And I took it outside, you know, and put it behind the garage in one of the trash cans, because I was just like, this is done and over, you know, like he don't need any of this shit anymore, you know, he's with me, you know, like we're gonna be a happy family.
What was all in that box?
There was the black book, and I mean, you gave people nicknames, you gave certain descriptions. I can't remember everything.
I had code in there.
Yeah. So, of course, that got thrown away. There was, like, notes from girls that he dated in high school that I read. I probably shouldn't have read, but I did read.
You read 'em.
There was, like, little gifts that you had kept, and the only thing I did find was a pair of, like, these cute little gold hoop earrings that I kept, but I just threw everything else away. I don't even think you even knew everything.
You didn't find any lube in there, did you?
No, I did not find
okay.
any. John, that's disgusting.
I figured you found my strawberry flavored lube.
Gross.
I'll eat a whole tube of that in one sitting.
Oh, that's so nasty. Oh my God, that's so nasty. But no, I went through it and I read.
I must have got rid of the lube before I met you.
No, you had some. It was in a red.
It was the strawberry lube.
We're not right. We're so not right. Mm-hmm. But no, I got rid of a box that had a bunch of crap in it from like when you were in high school, and the black book got torn. I'm pretty sure that I probably tore the pages out, tore it all up, you know, made sure that, you know, you didn't need that. You didn't need that thing any longer.
Well, you know, that book came in handy in certain situations.
Well, I know, but you had the best thing right here in the whole world, and that was me.
I remember me and my buddies would come to my house because of that black book.
Oh, dear God.
They would come there and they'd be like, well, we'll just go through the book. And we would just go page by page. I probably ended up meeting you because of that book. Because there ain't no fucking way I just randomly went over to Nita's house.
No, because here's the thing. You, was it Ricky that called her up?
But it was in the black book. He was going through it.
Yeah.
So you were one page in that book that led me to you.
No,
so
I was not in that black book. Anita was in that black book.
Right, but it led me on a path to you. So we should be thankful of this thing.
We can be somewhat thankful, but then once you met me, it was in the destiny of the black book for me to destroy it.
But I really wish I could have read some of the code in there, because I forget, because not only did I give people nicknames, but I also gave them like little letters.
Well, I mean,
I would like, because there was probably a couple hundred girls in that book.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, like, I'm pregnant and I'm young, and I'm like, of course I'm gonna be extremely insecure, because when you're young and you're pregnant, you get heavy and your body starts doing all this weird shit. So of course I was super insecure, and I'm like, no, this thing's gotta go. I'm being completely honest. Like, there's no way in hell I could have been like, oh, I was at the age of 20 or 21, you know, and like, oh, I was so secure with myself. And they're like, man, no, I was not. I was young. I was pregnant. I got fat, and I was insecure as hell.
You know, see, this is what happens when you get married. They be throwing away, or when you get somebody pregnant, they start throwing away your shit. It wasn't long. My beer can collection was gone.
That was disgusting.
Man,
that
I had
thing needed
a
to
badass beer can collection.
That thing needed to go. That thing totally needed to go.
It's like one thing after the next comes up missing.
You know what? You had your own big blob of baggage too. So I remember, like, I will never forget, like, John and I would be talking, and if I was standing, if there was a mirror behind me, John would not make eye contact. He'd be talking to me, but he'd be looking at himself in the mirror, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be looking at me. Like, we're having a conversation. You don't just, like, you know, look at me for a minute and then look at yourself in the mirror. And then when you're supposed to be talking to me and looking at me, you're looking at yourself in the mirror while you're talking to me. And I'm just like, you used to do that all the time. It used to drive, do you remember doing that?
Yeah, I think it's funny.
You would drive me crazy. I'm like, why is he doing this? Like, he's supposed to be giving me his full attention. And he's not doing it.
Oh, girl.
And I'm just like, oh, Jesus, take the wheel.
Hey, I love me.
I know you love you. And I love you too. I wonder how many other people have done that before. Like, they looked at themselves in the mirror all the time. John was always looking at himself in the mirror. You were like constantly always looking at yourself in the mirror.
But
like
you should have seen when I was
together.
younger, I would like take off my shirt. I'd like look at myself in the mirror, you know.
You were a dirty hippie when we were like first together.
Well, you know, I've went through my phases.
John used to have this t-shirt. I don't know if I've ever told anybody about this. He had these Piqua wrestling t-shirts.
Oh, that was a badass
he
t-shirt.
had, oh no, this was horrible. Because like when you're pregnant, you get extremely sensitive to smell. So it was just like, you know, when you're pregnant and like you smell something and then it's like something that stinks, but then it's like super duper extra stinky. Well, John's Piqua wrestling shirts that he had were like, just like, he kept them forever. And the armpits were like the white t-shirts that he had. Number one, they weren't white anymore. They had a grayish tint and they were see-through. But the armpits were like super duper thick and they were like crusty yellow. Do you remember that?
That shirt was the shit. You know how it is, man. You got your favorite wrestling t-shirt.
And then you cut the sleeves off to get rid
Hell
of
yeah, I did.
the hard crusty thing. So that way you could have the shirt
Oh, I love that shit.
that could, you know, you could have it for a little bit longer, but then
I wish I had that shirt still today.
No, I throw that
You see
thing
that
away.
shit? She threw something else away.
It was something nasty. That thing had to get thrown away. That was gross.
This girl, if you turn your back on her, she throws everything away. I was in here eating some rice pudding the other day, and all of a sudden the lid off the rice pudding ended up in the trash can.
I didn't know that was the lid. It just happened to get thrown away.
If you guys haven't ate rice pudding before, that shit's fucking amazing, by the way. It's kind of like tapioca, but it's got rice in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really delicious.
Yeah.
It's super duper delicious.
But you see what happens when you get with a woman. First, she throws away your black book. She gets rid of your strawberry flavored lube.
No, that lube stayed around for a while.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, it did. That stuff didn't get thrown away.
Ah.
Stop looking at me like that, you dirty man.
I didn't know you allowed the lube to linger around.
No, it stayed for a little while.
Yeah, so, and then she starts throwing away your beer can collection. Next thing you know, she's reading your love letters and shit.
You didn't even, I bet you didn't. I don't
She's
even
reading
think
your diary.
You didn't have a diary.
And then she throws away your favorite shirts.
No.
The motherfuckers
Babe.
just come up missing. All of a sudden, they're gone.
I'm so
You trying to
missing.
salvage your favorite shirt? That one that fucking fits just perfect, man, like a glove. You put that bitch on and just
That thing was like
hangs
see-through.
in all the right
it
places.
was see-through, and it wasn't even white. It was gray, like a grayish tint to it, and it was see-through.
That was the most comfortable shirt on planet Earth.
Oh, no.
Just felt good.
That was disgusting. I still remember that.
I'm sure all you men can relate. You guys have went through the series with these women. They come in, they start doing that nesting shit.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think about couples that don't fart in front of each other?
Yeah, I think that's just a...
What's going
Man.
on there?
I couldn't, number one, I couldn't imagine how, like, to do it, how to live the life. Like, always sneaking off to the restroom or something like that to fart.
You used to do
The
that in the
second
very
thing is-
beginning, remember?
Well, that was like the first 2 weeks we met. You got to hide the farts for at least the first. Like, you can't, like...
No, but
you
I'm
can't
the
shit
one...
your pants in front of somebody the first day you meet them.
But I'm the one that farted first. It wasn't you. Remember that?
Oh, I was so happy that you farted.
I was mortified.
Don't you remember the moment that she let out like a little... And I didn't even hear it. She could have got away by not telling me.
No.
And
we were doing something... Remember? And it upset...
We were snorting cocaine. we were just snorting a little toot. We were snorting a little toot. No big deal.
It was, in the very beginning. Yeah, the very beginning. That's what we were doing. It upset my stomach. And I ended up...
It caused her to fart. And, like, honestly, like, that was so relieving to me. Because I just lifted my leg and ripped a fart.
You had a bottle of Febreze. You had a bottle of Febreze. Remember? You started spraying.
But don't you remember?
So mortified.
But don't you remember the moment you farted? I lifted my leg and let out like a 5-second fart.
I know, but that didn't bother me. I was mortified when I farted.
I was just happy the tension had been broke. I mean, how often can you sneak off and go fart in a restroom or something like that? Especially if you're in the middle of doing a little toot.
It upset my stomach.
We just doing a little bit of toot.
I only did it twice, and that was with you.
Yeah, it's the last time I done it too. Was way back then.
That's not good for you.
Well, that shit. I never got really addicted to it because, I mean, okay, so while you were doing it, I was fucking addicted to it. I wanted to keep doing it, but God,
because it makes you
come down on that shit.
You feel like you're gonna
die. Like you're gonna die the next day. And that always turned me off to the point to where I'd be like, man, I don't know if I want to get involved in doing that shit tonight because I knew that the fucking come down was gonna hit me. And oh my God, is that terrible. And you can only do so much. Like, you can't keep doing fucking coke because your nose gets stuffed up.
I remember the first time when we did it together. Is it the first time when we did it together and I farted in front of you, or was it the second time?
I honestly
think
don't
it was
remember.
the first time.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. And then the next day I thought I was dying. And I'm like, fuck this shit. I ain't never touching that stuff again.
And that was like the second time that we had, that was probably 2 weeks into our relationship.
Yeah.
A couple weeks into our relationship. Man, after that, I farted in front of her ever since.
Well, yeah.
So as far as like people like hiding their farts from each other, like, man, I know people that have hid their farts from each other for like years on end.
For years.
It's like, to me, that's like sneaking around your house and shit.
I don't know. I don't see how somebody do that. Well, I think what it is, what really broke us in is like, with me being, pregnant. I got pregnant a month and a half after we were together, and all kinds of crazy shit happens when you're pregnant. You get morning sickness, and the next thing you know, like, then you're like puking and then peeing yourself because you're pregnant and just all that kind of stuff. And then like, I mean, like when Jonathan was born and whatnot, I mean, you've seen everything, like it was all out. It was just, and I think that once we had a baby together, it was like, why would we even want to hold anything back from one another?
Including farts.
Sure, throwing up, someone having to take a shit on the side of the road in a ditch, and then some people turn around and think that your car's broke down. And
yep, that was her. I ain't never had to take a shit outside like that.
You know what? Did. I will say something that was kind of your fault because you got the Chinese food and you're like, Angela, just eat some of this. It's good. And I'm like...
It was from the mall.
And I'm like,
and
sure,
it wasn't even from like a super good mall. It was like from the Springfield Mall.
Yeah, Springfield, Ohio.
Springfield, Ohio is like a fucking ghetto.
Yeah. And the way that we took was out in the country. So we ate this Chinese food. Well, before we even left the mall, you had the shits. You, thankfully, was able to use the bathroom. Me, on the other hand, I was driving back, and I remember we were driving an Oldsmobile. It was a 4-door, and it was white. And Jonathan, I think, was just like a couple years old. And we're driving back home. And all of a sudden, like everybody knows, this has happened to everybody. It's like you eat something bad and your stomach is going, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, I'm either going to have to pull over the side of the road and do this in a ditch, or I'm going to end up shitting myself. And I'm like, that's not happening. And in all honesty, you go into like a survival mode.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do. Thankfully, Jonathan was in diapers, so we had baby wipes.
But some car seen us, and then the car was turning around like they were going to come back and help.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, hell no.
And thankfully, I was done. I remember Jonathan was like crying and bawling his eyes out, and I just never understood why. I'm like, dude, you're fine. You're fine. Your mom's the one that's over here in the ditch, like having to take a shit. Like, it was horrible. It was horrible. I don't wish that upon anybody. That
was funny.
No, that was horrible.
Yeah,
that was horrible.
You hid that from everybody for years.
Yeah.
Like, you remember, like, I couldn't tell anybody, like, on the podcast, and then one time, like, you finally said, fuck it, tell everybody.
Yeah, fine.
Because I would occasionally hint about it,
yeah.
And she would get this look on her face like she was going to die. And you know how it is as a husband, you got to do shit like that.
Well, in all honesty, women don't really want to talk about this.
Well, and I think even when we were places, I would, like, fuck with you about it. Like, we'd be around people, and somebody would have a story, and I would look at her and be like, just like when you eat Chinese food, huh, Angela? And then she'd be like,
"Urgh." I'd be like, don't you say anything.
Yeah, and so it was like
don't
this.
You be saying anything.
It was almost funner whenever she didn't want me to tell anybody because I could always like just joke around about it and see that look on her face like she's going to kill me if I say another word about it.
You know what? Listen, that story has been told, and other women have they're like, girl, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's happened to me, you know? It's in all honesty, it's probably happened to the majority of women out there.
Well, you know, a lot of times we all got these stories that are hard to tell, you know? I mean, shit, don't you remember it was so hard for me to tell the story about how when the cops kicked down our door when I was like 20 years old, took me to jail, you know, for trafficking LSD at the time. And how it was so hard for us to come out and tell. I hid that story for probably 8 years.
Yeah.
Probably 8 years I hid that story from the world.
Yeah.
And finally, you know, I just got tired of hiding shit. Like I don't fucking hide anything. I mean, even whenever I got beat up by the police down in Dayton, I couldn't talk about that for a year simply because it was an ongoing case.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anybody getting like, you never know, man. There's fucking people out there, especially, you know, I've taken over, dominated some industries and shit like that. I've hurt some people's feelings doing so. You get some people out there that have it out for you, man. I wasn't going to give them an opening to fucking try to, like, do something to harm the situation.
Yeah.
So because of that, I had to be quiet about it for a while. But it was great. The moment that I was able to come out and speak about it and talk about it and share it with the world, you know, a lot of times the things that we're hiding from the world are the things that will actually set you free. You know, it's like your mess is your message. Mm-hmm. And the way people connect with people, like I never got that. And that's one of the reasons, like I was on some other podcasts back in the day. And it's just like I was around people who never wanted to be fully fucking real with the world. Mm-hmm. And they never wanted to tell their story. They wanted to hide shit and shroud it and act like they were fucking perfect and, you know, and all of this shit, right? But in the long run, the truth of the matter is that hurts you because you lose your connection with your audience because your audience is really looking for you to be authentic and for you to be real. Because the moment people, you know, the moments that I've had people reach out to me the most, who have been impacted the most and I've been able to help them the most are the moments that I was vulnerable and told my story when I didn't really even want to. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, you're not going to want to at first. But once you finally step out and you tell your story, what happened, how you overcame this obstacle, that impacts people at a level where, you know, they want to like hear your message. They want to listen to you because now they know you're just not some guy that's acting like he's fucking perfect. Some individual who just acting like a shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody is perfect, and no relationship is perfect. I mean,
But there's so many people out there that are hiding their true self from
there's
the
no.
world.
I don't. What's
that
the
it's
big deal?
refreshing.
Why?
It's very refreshing to find people that are like, in their truth. It's like Ryan Stewman. He's very vocal about the time that he spent in prison. If you look at Zach Babcock, he's very vocal about the time that he spent in prison. That's the reason why they got the movements that they've got. That's the reason why they got the following that they got, is because they were vulnerable and they were vocal about something. And if you look at it, you're like, wow, Ryan Stewman, who's, whatever, making $20-30 million a year, was in prison fucking, 12 years ago or maybe 14 years ago. That's just fucking incredible. Dude, I want to listen to him because, look, he's been at the lowest point fucking possible.
Yeah.
Being in prison, coming out with $20 to his name, and now he's a fucking multi-millionaire. Yeah, I want to know what this guy has to say. He wasn't fucking given anything, right?
No.
The same thing with Zach. Zach's the same way. He's out there killing it, doing his thing.
But what's
prison.
But what's holding like people back? Is it like some type of embarrassment?
They're scared to be judged. They're scared of the judgment when ultimately that's what would set them free.
You know what? To be completely honest, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've judged people and stuff like that, but ever since that whole thing that you and I went through, I don't do that no more.
Yeah. Hell nah.
How did we go?
We got to wrap this up. That's what I was trying to tell her because the battery's getting ready to die on the computer. Here's the thing. We're heading to Dallas this next week, and you're going to be listening to this probably when we're flying back. If you listen to it on that Saturday, we'll be flying back on Saturday, but we're pre-recording this, so we did our two of them back to back. And my computer is looking like it's on red, and it's getting close to the end, y'all.
All right, we better wrap it up.
Plug this bitch in. But we're 32 minutes into it, so we got a pretty good podcast in.
Yes, we did.
All right, everybody. I appreciate you for coming along on this Marketing Revolution podcast. As usual, I'm going to see you on that next one.
And remember, it's all about the motherfucking hustle.